In 3, 2.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! Let's go Giants!
Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
We're standing on top, not gonna stop, we came to play. Ain't slowing down, pulling on, we're here to stay. And we're stopping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
Welcome, everybody, to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of your San Francisco Giants. I'm going to be hosting tonight with Ben. Ben, I think, is online. Yarg. Pirate Ben.
Yarg.
How are you tonight, buddy?
Yarg might be a good word for it, actually. But, man, I mean, I can't say that baseball's been bringing me down lately. That's for sure.
No, it's been a pretty good set of weeks here for the Giants.
It's doing me a lot of favors mood-wise. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually, I'm feeling better about myself, and that's not true. But, yeah, if you're talking Giants-wise, I'm doing great. I mean, it's been so much more fun to watch this team right now than it was for about, 2 straight months.
Yeah, it feels really good. They obviously had a great month of August, had some incredible performances, which we're going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to start off the show by saying no matter how well they have been playing, there have been a couple of, unfortunate spots. One is the Dodgers keep winning. Unfortunately,
that's always unfortunate.
Pretty much the same clip as the Giants because they got a little closer. Now they're starting to fade, just kind of a couple games here. But also that Colorado series, I think, really was just it was kind of it was a microcosm
really
of the entire year against the Rockies. And we're going to jump all over the notes here, but one thing that I'm just really disappointed in this year is the Giants went 9-10 against the worst team in the National League. And
I mean, the Rockies have been pretty colossally bad.
I mean, they are a really, really bad team. And the funny thing is the Giants actually played them better earlier in the year when the Rockies were actually
when they were good.
Yeah, when they were good. And everyone said, hey,
they were very good.
When Marty Lurie said, I think the Rockies are going to be in it till the end. And I have to admit, even I was kind of chuckling then because, that's one time ever.
Shake your head out a little bit. But at the same time, that I don't think, by default, you don't start by assuming that Troy Tulowitzki is going to break himself.
No.
You do start by
or
assuming
Cargo.
that Charlie Blackmon will come back down to earth.
Yeah.
But
they lost a ton of people. There's no doubt that the injuries definitely killed their year. But the Giants actually played them better when they had those guys earlier in the year. And, the turning point in the Giants season, if they don't make the playoffs, I think it really is that game we were at when they just lay the colossal egg against the Rockies, that first of 3 that they lost in horrific fashion, with the Sergio Romo blown save.
We were
and the
just
next
like,
night
man, this is a really rough game, but they've been doing well, and it just embarked us upon 2 months of crying and
that really was the catalyst for it. But
more crying.
But that's okay. The Giants are still in it to win it. 2012, our catcher comes out of being comeback player of the year after his horrific injury in 2011, after winning the World Series and Rookie of the Year in 2010. And what does he do? He puts together that MVP push over the last 6 weeks of the season, which propelled the Giants into the playoffs and just continued into the playoffs. And, of course, Buster Posey won the MVP that year. This year, everybody's been saying, it's mediocre Buster Posey. Is this the Buster Posey that we can come to expect from year to year? Which, hey, it's above average for a catcher.
I was going to say until recently.
But, it's like, okay, he's hitting 280. He's got 13, 14 bombs and like 60 RBI. It's better than average. Okay, well, maybe it's a little bit of a down year.
Certainly more than we were hoping for out of, say, I don't know, Guillermo Quiroz.
Yeah. Or
look at anything that Posey does, just think and say,
Sanchez.
Now, if Guillermo Quiroz did this, what would I think?
Yeah, but he...
When talking about replacement level.
What's a WAR on that? Negative, 3 or something? I'm just...
On Guillermo Quiroz? Or...
Yeah.
This year, the Giants are 0 for Guillermo Quiroz.
Yeah, I don't even think the WAR is 0. I think it's actually a negative. But he did find his Superman cape, his MV Posey cape, and he has donned that that article of clothing over the last 16, 17, 18 games, basically the
It's
last.
hard for me to not have you say article of clothing and not think of Aubrey Huff, and I don't really want to talk about that any more than I just did, if I can possibly help it.
Conjures up images of that article of clothing and Bud Light and.
Dear 4 people watching, I'm
his
sorry I
good
had to do
friend.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not really sorry.
No, we're not really sorry. But he's just absolutely pushed the Giants over the top over the last 6 weeks and has put them into contention again in the NL West. As we're sitting here tonight, I think the Dodgers were about to win or did win. That does push them back to 3.5 games, which is unfortunate because they did close the gap earlier this week to just 2 games. And for a few fleeting hours, they were actually a game and a half behind in between games when they won in Detroit and then LA won later in the night. But really, Buster Posey has been the catalyst for this. He has been hot. Not only did he win NL Player of the Week this week, which, by the way, he hit 565 and had 5 multi-hit games.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy. But even what's crazier is 512 over his last 10 games and 493 over his last 16, and he's raised his average almost 30 points in the span of 16, 17 games in August and September. That's unheard of. I mean, you have to hit 500 or higher to raise your average 30 points this late in the year. He has just been tremendous. He's crossed the 20 home run threshold. He's almost at 80 RBI. And a lot of people are putting him back into the NL MVP conversation. And being the objective person I'm trying to be, which is not very often, I look at it and I say...
wait, did you just call yourself objective?
Yeah, which is
sometimes.
Wait a minute, we have a podcast by fans and for fans, so that's kind of contradictory in nature.
Right.
But I would say, of course, maybe second half MVP in the NL or something close to that. But when you look at the entire year, he just, unless he continues this tear over the last 19 games, because that's all they have, by the way. They only have 19 more games. He just doesn't have the numbers to seriously be considered, in my opinion, for NL MVP. Just because he's going to finish probably with less than 25 home runs, less than 100 RBI. And even if he captures the batting title, which he's only, I think, 7 points behind Morneau right now. He's sitting 5th at 309. He would have to do something pretty dramatic game after game after game down the stretch to push the Giants. I would say it would require him to be superhuman over the last 19 games and to win the West for him to be under serious consideration.
So MVP. You're saying there's a chance.
So I'm saying there's a chance.
I mean, it's I don't see Posey as having an MVP season this year, but at the same time, we've been surprised before, so why not? He's still totally ridiculous, but he would have to continue playing pretty much at this exact clip that he is at, and that is something that I don't know if we're expecting or not. It really does depend on the rest of the lineup a bit. When Posey is the only threat in the lineup, he does not see nearly as much opportunity to be a threat in the lineup. When you have guys in front and behind him firing like Pence and Panic and sometimes Pagan, you really have an opportunity for him to go, okay, well, then they've got other people to worry about, so they aren't just going to start pulling a Barry Bonds on me or anything like that. I think that it's, we're in a spot right now where if the team is going to go, it's not just going to be because of Buster, but it is going to be because of Buster. If the team is going to go, though, it's going to be because everybody has done a good job, and that is something that we've actually seen pretty well this year, which has been really nice. There's a lot of shared responsibility this month. Different guys at different nights. I mean, Travis Ishikawa is doing well, which I'm frankly excited by. I mean...
No, this is the feeling.
We've talked about this before that I really like Travis Ishikawa, but the fact remains that he's have a season. I mean, he's hitting 304 with the Giants right now, and that's in 33 games.
Yeah, so it's a decent sample size, but you're right.
Well,
you look
49 plate attempts, but still.
Okay, but for the
not that decent
for the person
304, man.
Yeah, the player he's going to be in terms of utility. He's never going to have 500 at bats. So as far as
but he's got 20 total bases. 20 total bases. Adam Duvall has 21 total bases, and he has half again as many plate attempts as Travis Ishikawa does. Travis Ishikawa, man. Instant honorary. All right, I'll calm down now.
Going a little TI crazy, man. That's what we start calling him, TI.
Really?
Yeah, that's just
that just
horrible.
brings all kinds of other exciting things into it.
Yeah,
Somebody just start the TI clips in the background.
Rappers and Treasure Island and
Or
Vegas.
better yet, don't.
Not so good.
Really? I have never once called that TI.
Well, that's what they call themselves.
That's probably why
They have that big sign
really
in Vegas,
avoided going
and it's
there.
literally, it's all like, they're trying to be hip, right? Instead of Treasure Island.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's TI. It's like too much information for what? Treasure Island. Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Travis
stupid.
Ishikawa, the
Yeah.
casino. I'm sorry, what? Did you just...
Tits in
What would
here.
it... What would a...
That was bad.
There's no H.
Yeah. That's the little H that you don't see.
What exactly would be in a Travis Ishikawa casino, I wonder? I don't know, but all the slot machines are left-handed.
Left-handed slot machines. I think that's where you got to go.
It's got a Lefty's Sports Emporium in the forum, just like Caesar's Palace.
All the booths are configured that way. All right, so
we sell left-handed gloves.
Speaking of Giants,
congratulations! You won a left-handed token of appreciation.
Madison Bumgarner also secured the National League Pitcher of the Month for August, and he had, I think,
a left-handed pitcher of the month.
That's right, the left-handed pitcher of the month for the team.
It was sad because that worked. I was really hoping I was just going to run that joke into the ground, but I actually said it correctly.
It did. You did run it into the ground. It crashed and burned quite hot. Let's move on.
What, hot? Are we talking about Posey?
Usually I'm the one drinking, but I think you might be drinking the punch tonight. Bumgarner, 1.97 ERA for the month, which is crazy. That's still higher than Kershaw's ERA for the year.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But what's really incredible about Bumgarner is he's obviously their ace this year. He's won Pitcher of the Month again. He's not, going to win Cy Young this year. I think we know that race is completely over. And in fact, the MVP might go to Kershaw as well at this point. Which
is surprising. I mean, it takes a lot for a pitcher to be able to earn that kind of.
But he's having that superhuman type of year where you had guys in the past, pitchers win the MVP, including guys like Eckersley. And
that was interesting.
That was a really interesting one. Yeah, a reliever winning it. So I think he's out of the consideration for that. But what he can be in consideration for is leading the National League in wins. Now I know Kershaw did win his 18th tonight, so he's back one behind him. But
it's essentially he just sort of said, "Your move, Madison."
Pretty much. But they have a few games left.
More twang than that, probably.
So Madison, I guess he does technically have a chance to win 20 this year with 19 games left. Correct? Doesn't he have 3 more starts at least? That would make sense
at least.
to me.
I mean, he's got to have at
he
least
might
3.
Have 4. So he does have a shot at getting 20, which would be pretty incredible. When was the last pitcher that won 20? Is that like Billy Swift? Is it that long ago? I didn't even look it up. I want to say it's Billy Swift. 93.
I guess I'm looking it up.
Well, thank you, Ben.
That's I'm already logged into Baseball Reference. It's fine.
Well, I think we all know that 20-game winners was kind of the benchmark back in the 80s and maybe the 90s. Since then,
I mean
it is hovering around 16.
Changed drastically, though,
it's changed so drastically. Not only fewer starts per year, but now more frequent use of the bullpen earlier. You just have fewer opportunities for those starters to actually get the extra couple of wins they needed to get to 20. So now an incredible year is 18 wins. That's like, oh my God, he's in Cy Young consideration. When 18 back in the 80s was like, he was 12th in the league in wins.
He's very good, but is he great?
He only won 18. I mean,
does he have 25 wins?
I mean, he started.
Did we leave
40,
him in for 8 innings?
He started 40 games. He only won 18. No, that's not very good.
It's a good thing this 4-man rotation isn't run too ragged. Let's see.
I know. None of the recent Giants have won 20 games. That's for sure. Timmy hasn't. Kane hasn't. Bum hasn't.
That's
I do want to say Billy Swift.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Well, let's see if I can figure it out here. No, that's the most wins. How about sort by year?
Yeah, it's not something that's probably easily looked
20,
up.
20. I mean, I could have probably filtered this an entirely different way instead of putting myself through what I'm doing.
We need
Sean Estes did have 19 in 97.
That's right.
John Burkett.
Oh, Burkett
93.
And Swift. Okay, it's Burkett
and
and
Swift.
93. They both
Burkett
did.
and Swifty together in 93, 21 and 22.
There you go. Okay.
21 for Swift, 22 for Burkett.
That's right. They both got him.
And then the next year, Burkett had 6.
Yeah. So
because
it was
94.
94. So 21 years ago was the last time a Giant had won 20 games. So he has a shot this year.
Good grief.
We'll see what happens.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, in fairness, the first thing that it did here is highlight that Madison Bumgarner has 17 for me on the first row. So that's exciting.
It is. It is. I mean, he's the opposite of Matt Cain. He definitely has been getting the run support and supporting the runs himself. So
I was gonna say in the last 3 years, the highest totals: Madison Bumgarner at 17, Madison Bumgarner at 16, Matt Cain at 16, and then Barry Zito at 15.
yeah, that was that odd.
In 20, that was 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Though that was 2012. Like
No.
that's really all I can say about it is so that was 2012, and
Barry Zito had 15 wins. Do you
so
need
that
to
was
know
also the year that
anything
Santiago
else?
Casilla had 7 wins. So Gene Machi's got 6 this year, almost as many as Ryan Vogelsong.
Yeah, but Machi started off with 5, like after the first month of the season. Remember
Right,
that?
no, that was great. It was just we were just waiting to see if Machi and Kershaw would go neck and neck for wins over the year.
Yeah, he was leading the league in wins at 5, like in May.
Right, he just had so many more opportunities to get them.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, kept life interesting.
Definitely. So that series in Detroit was entertaining. I got to watch most of the first 2 games. I didn't see the third one, and so that was the right one to not watch. But going in, it kind of felt a little bit like the World Series again. Not with the number of prognosticators out there, but the Tigers were favored in all 3 games. Of course, being at home and having a similar or slightly better record than the Giants going in.
Well, I mean, they haven't been playing nearly as well, but they've been playing okay.
Yeah, they've been playing okay,
You
but
know?
it did have that same feel like, with the big boppers, the Giants might be overmatched a little bit. It's like, nope, not at all. No problem. Took care of the first 2 games. Easy. So, I mean, securing that series win right away, it's just such a good feeling as a fan going, well, even if they lose the third game, taking 2 out of 3 in Detroit and beating David Price is pretty sweet. But then Miguel Cabrera decided to get hot in the last 2 games there.
Right,
He hit like 4 bombs
5
or
for
something.
10.
Yeah.
That was just partway through the third game. I mean,
Yeah, I do like everybody joking after he hit that slider off of Romo into left field. 2 years
it
too
was like
late.
about right. I may have said that once or twice.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
It's like, well, I think all Giants fans were thinking that was a distinct possibility during that at-bat in the World Series. It's like, we got a 1-run lead, there's 2 outs, yeah, he could tie this real easily. And got him. So that was the right time to give it up, Romo. Didn't give up the World Series. So thank you.
Right. Good job waiting until
Yeah.
2 years later. Strongly approved.
Good job.
Good job, Serge. Good job.
But speaking of bum, it was, David Price and Madison Bumgarner. It was, flaunted as being a marquee match. Yeah, an ace-off, a marquee matchup between 2 of the best lefties in the league. Blah blah blah. And what happens?
Let's see which one can trip over himself sooner.
I have to admit, as a Tigers fan, I would have been pulling my hair out in that first inning. He gets the first 2 guys out.
Oh man.
And then it was like 6 consecutive 2-out hits. It was insane. It was like Posey and Pence and Pablo, and it was just like clunk, 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 and then even Arias got in the act, and Susak, and that was just, who are these guys? And suddenly they got put 4 runs on the board with 2 outs and no one on. So that was pretty sweet. So then you're thinking, all right, the Giants got a nice, control of this game with their ace going. It's 4-2, just like that, because of Mr. Cabrera. And then
whoops, I looked away for 1 you guys. 1 second.
Yeah, I like one of the announcers.
I glanced away for 1 second, and you're up 4-0 on David Price. Is this what you want?
I was watching live when they did score all those runs, which was really fun. And then I went over to go wash some dishes or something, and then my phone beeped, and it was all 4-2, and I was like, "What?"
I think I was at work, and I just kept looking at my phone, going, "Wait, what? Wait."
Yeah, so they said, and that happened with 1 out in the bottom of the first. So after 4 outs were recorded in the game, 6 runs had already scored. It's just like, huh?
Wait.
What happened to this matchup we were talking about?
I don't remember. Is this how aces work nowadays?
Yeah.
I realize baseball is a little different now, but.
And then Victor Martinez hit one in the third, and suddenly it was 4-3, and it was like, oh, it's going to be one of those games, huh? And it's crazy that David Price ended up actually pitching 8 2/3 innings that game after giving up 4 in the first. So kudos to him for actually kind of righting the ship and pretty much shutting the Giants down after that.
Price is the kind of guy that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You had Buster Posey that took him deep later, which proved to be the difference in the game because Romo gave one up to Cabrera later, his second of that game. But they still hung on for that 5-4 win, and then the last start, Huddy, look, he's definitely outperformed my expectations of him this year, and I think most Giants fans' expectations. He's, in Atlanta the last couple of years, he's been hovering around a 4-something ERA, maybe high threes, low fours, kind of around that ballpark. And right now, I think he's at a 3.1 or 3.2 right now, so he's only got a few more starts left, so chances are he's going to finish up with a better ERA and WHIP than his last several years in Atlanta. So that speaks volumes right there, because the Giants obviously signed him expecting him to generate the same numbers or maybe just a little bit better because it's a pitcher's park.
I think they were probably aiming for about the same numbers too, because you
can't say, well, if he had a 4 ERA in Atlanta, he's got to have a 3.5 ERA.
I mean, we're also talking about coming off an ankle injury and some other things. Everybody had the suspicion that Hudson would still be pretty good. Yeah. I don't know that anybody knew it.
No.
Because you're never everybody seemed optimistic. He had thrown and people had seen him and it seemed good, but you kind of go, well, we'll see about how things go once we get into the real world. And as it turned out, fine.
Fine.
Just everything turned out fine. He's just fine. He's totally fine. I definitely wasn't expecting Hudson to be as good as he's been. I was expecting him to be good. I was expecting that he was going to fit very nicely into the rotation. But I mean, in his starts, the Giants are 17 and 18 and 10 now. 18 and 10, 17 and 11. It's something ridiculous.
Something like that.
Yeah, the Giants are doing just a heck of a job, and Hudson is a remarkably large part of that. And I guess you can't say remarkably because he's good, but we weren't sure what we were getting with him at the beginning of the season. We knew that we were getting easily above average to very good, and we sort of resulted at very good to superior. And so, I mean, that's one of those ones you look back at that signing and you go, yep, that worked out pretty good. Worked out pretty great, really.
It's actually worked out very well.
We were saying the same thing about Mike Morse, in fairness. I will say that.
Yeah, and unfortunately he's been sidelined with an oblique injury right now. And
yeah, hopefully could have used him in Detroit. Hopefully we're going to be seeing him again soon, though.
Yeah, originally they were expecting him back tomorrow night, but I guess that might be in question now too. So
I mean, obliques are tough.
Yeah, no, very very tough. It's just like hamstrings. You might think that it feels better, but structurally it's still weak, and so one wrong move, one extra hard swing, and it's right back to where it was before. You need to make sure that sucker's healed.
Right.
But you're right. We need his
especially given that there are postseason prospects. You can't totally blow him out now and then not have him later. But at the same time, you can't totally save him now and then not get into the postseason later. So it's this awkward balancing act that they'll have to walk.
So speaking of the playoff stretch here, they have 19 games left, and they're sitting pretty comfortable as far as the wild card race is concerned. They are 3.5 games up on Pittsburgh, who currently holds the second wild card. So if it ended today, Pittsburgh would come to San Francisco for the one-game playoff. But right behind them are Milwaukee and Atlanta, both tied, and they are 4.5 back of the Giants, 1 game back of Pittsburgh. So the Giants are, basically as far ahead in the wild card as they are behind in the West.
Right.
But what is to me concerning is they're in a comfortable position for the wild card as long as they play out the string very well. It's just that you have 2 other teams that can sneak their way in there. It's not just one other team. And so it just increases the chances of one of those teams getting hot and surpassing 3 other teams. And I think the Giants, to be honest, I would rather them play at home for the one-game playoff. I wouldn't have said that maybe a couple of weeks ago because they're abysmal.
When our home record was absolutely terrible, right?
But overall, it's a crapshoot home or road. So as long as the Giants secure one of those, if they can't win the West, it is what it is. But they would have to lose 4.5 games to one of those other teams in order to actually lose out of the playoff or be out of the wild card picture. With 19 left, it doesn't seem extremely likely, even if they played about 500 or a couple games above 500. Most likely they'll hold on to it. No promises or anything, but I think the real kicker here is 6 games left against LA out of those 19, and even being 3.5 back now, I hope they can do some damage against Arizona. They need to. They're a weak team right now. They just limped out of LA. they got swept. Unfortunately, they couldn't help the Giants.
I was
Even
going
one
to say,
game.
it's sad for us then, but potentially not sad for us now.
Yeah.
Although with our luck, it'll be like, oh, man,
Well,
totally swept by the die. Oh, look, Gerardo Parra, the second coming of Barry Bonds again.
that's what I'm
Awesome.
worried about, because last week when Willie and I recorded, Eric and I recorded,
Right.
I was saying that as long as the Giants can hang within 3 games, I would say, of the Dodgers going into that first series, they have a really good opportunity, because they take 2 out of 3 there. They're only 2 games back. Maybe they can shave 1 more game off in the series or 2 before the next series in LA. And if they can go into that series at 1 game behind or tied, they could do some damage and take the West from there. But like you said,
I mean, they can go into the game, that series 2 games behind and potentially get to do some damage.
and they still
but
could do
it's,
that. Yeah. But if they, let's say the bad things happen and they lose 2 out of 3 to Arizona, and LA takes care of San Diego, and suddenly they're going into this LA series at 5.5 or 6
slow
back.
tip. Yeah.
Then it's kind of like, well,
I mean, we have 6 games to play against the Dodgers, but
it's
if
like
those are the only ones we win, then we're not going anywhere.
Well, if they
so
stay within 2 or 3, they don't have to sweep all 6 games. I mean, because that's just an impossible order, right? But you could win 4 out of 6, gain 2 games in the standings.
Just win whichever games you don't face Kershaw, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then, maybe shave a couple games off outside of that schedule, hoping that things go your way, and suddenly you can
It's
be in
just,
contention.
the thing is, when you look at the end of the year, you have to remember that we're into division play, and the Dodgers are playing all the same terrible, crappy teams that we are.
Oh, absolutely. The schedules are almost identical.
Right. I mean,
there's no strength
there's
either way.
nobody that the Dodgers are looking ahead to going, well, this could be rough besides us.
Yeah, they're not playing the Nationals anymore or any of these good teams, So
Yep.
it's an even playing field, and the Dodgers just have the distinct advantage right now. The only thing working for the Giants is the fact that they have those 6 games against the Dodgers. If they didn't, I would kiss the West chances pretty much goodbye. But the Giants really do control their own destiny right now, and if they can pull off 4 or 5 wins out of those 6, they have a really, really good shot at winning the West. But again, if they go into that series 5 or 6 back, I mean, you're at the point now where you got to say you have to sweep this first series and see where we are when we go to LA. Yeah, I mean, you can't just win 2 out of 3 and win, and you just shave 1 game off, and we're 5 down now. That's not gonna
the
work.
Dodgers just beat the Padres 9-4.
Yeah,
a little upset.
Kershaw got the win. I'm sure. I know he started. Yeah.
That's like the least surprising thing I feel like I'll hear all day.
Yeah, and of course, Mattingly set up the rotation to have the big 3 face the Giants this weekend. So. But hey,
as you do, you have to.
That's what you have to do. And they asked Bruce,
well,
is he going to do that? But Bumgarner's already pitching. And then I think the other 2 they are going to have Vogie and Petit, I believe, in that series. Well, I mean, who else are you going to pitch? I mean, do you really feel like, I guess Peavy, he's been hot lately, so maybe him over Vogelsong. Although Vogelsong was really pitching extremely well until that last game in Colorado. And again, it's Colorado, right? It's one of those things where even he was being interviewed afterwards going, hey, man, just fly ball goes out of the park. What are you going to do? It's just – and he didn't get hit hard till like the 4th inning. I'd say the pitching is fairly even except for Bumgarner. He's clearly the ace, but the rest of the staff has been kind of around the same.
The other 4 have kind of matched up. Yeah.
So I don't think there's a distinct way that Bochy could have set this up to be any better, to be honest. They don't have those big 3 like the Dodgers do. Back in the 2010, maybe 2012, they would say, oh yeah, you got Bumgarner, you got Lincecum, and you got Kane.
Yeah,
you got those 3. That would be your big 3. You don't have
in
that
2010.
right now.
That's pretty much how that stacks out for the most part.
Exactly. So,
it's Bumgarner and then it's everybody else. But the thing is, the way that they're pitching right now, everybody else goes like number 3 on any other team.
Yeah, and then that's
if
true.
not higher.
But I think it's actually good that
in Hudson's case, number 2, I think.
Bumgarner's not going to match up against Kershaw in the series is the way it's lining up right now. I actually kind of like that, just because even though ace against ace is kind of the sexy
but it's just
appeal.
But it's just like, and we'll just dump this one out. It's hard not to look at a game against Kershaw and go, well, so that one's over.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll play it anyway, and maybe we'll get lucky because Brandon Belt plus Kershaw is always exciting.
Yeah.
Or Brett Pill Kershaw. But sadly, that's no longer an option.
No, weird things happen, and the Giants definitely
weird
beat
things
Kershaw
happen.
before. But he
it
has like a
certainly
1.5 lifetime ERA against the Giants. I mean, he just owns the Giants, and so you just look at that
it
and
happens,
go, okay,
it just doesn't happen often.
Go ahead, have Petit lose that game, not Bumgarner. Let's have Bumgarner pitch game 1, and maybe he can, kick Ryu in the face or something with a grand slam. I don't know, but Anyway, that's what they have coming up. They do have to approach these games, certainly the Dodgers games, as though they are the postseason.
I just want to see Bumgarner hit a home run off
But
of Josh Beckett. Is that too much to ask for?
That would be so just a thing of beauty.
Just whump. Okay, then.
But they can't underperform against Arizona and San Diego like they have against Colorado this year.
Agreed.
They just cannot. And in fact, the Giants are 8-5 against Arizona this year, so it's okay. They're above 500. But in 9 of those games, they were decided by 3 runs or fewer. So most of those games have been very, very tight. They could have gone, either way. So they got to play this really tight. And if they could come away 2 out of 3 would be nice. But I think after that Rocky series, which they technically lost 2 out of 3, I know they sort of split because of that May game. They underperformed and the bullpen blew up. But the one good thing, though, like you pointed out earlier, their offense is on fire, man. They're clicking on all cylinders right now, and this is something that has been carrying them so far over the last 3 weeks.
It's something that you've seen some guys you weren't expecting to step up and really kind of take a hand in that. I mean, Joe Panik has to be at the top of any conversation about like guys you didn't expect to contribute to the team this year that are making a huge impact. I will say, in fairness, I was just looking at the records really quickly, and it looks like the Giants are actually 8-5 against the D-backs this year.
Yeah, 8-5.
And that could tilt in any direction very quickly, mind you. But conversely, the Giants are 6-6 against the Pods.
Yeah.
So that one is kind of anybody's game.
Yeah, they're barely above 500 against the West. They're 9-10 against the Rockies, and they're 7-6 against the Dodgers. So they barely own a winning record against the Dodgers. They're tied with the Padres, losing against the Rockies, and just 3 games up on the Diamondbacks. So, yeah, a few extra games against the West.
Division's been rough for us, considering that our worst. And it's sad because when you consider when our worst months were, we didn't do a lot of intra-division games during those 2 worst months. We were almost everywhere. There were a few. The Rockies certainly highlighted how bad we were at the very beginning of that stretch. But that was right in the meat of things. A lot of your division games there's some are spread in the middle, but a lot are at the beginning and a lot are at the end. We were really good at the beginning, and then we kind of went blah for a couple months, and now we're starting to right the ship again. But when you look at the way that the records turned out after that, you're like, man, I thought we were really good when we were facing a lot of these guys. That's kind of rough, and it's just one of those things that I look at it and I go, oh yeah, we're 7-6 against the Dodgers this year, and we're 9-10 against the Rockies. Baseball, man.
Baseball,
man.
Yeah, it was baseball was 1993 when the expansion Colorado Rockies, granted expansion team, were 0-12 against the Braves that year.
Baseball.
And of course the Braves beat the Giants by 1 game in the National League West. So yeah, that was
let's just not talk about this right now.
I remember going down the stretch going, wait, they're 0-6, they're 0-8, they're 0-10. Just win 1 fucking game and the Giants can get the West, and nope. But like you said, that's baseball. All right,
that's baseball.
So one of the big questions that we have for tonight is, should Posey stay at first? Now, I'm asking this question not as a permanent one, but as a shift for the last part of the season. And what I mean by this is that clearly his bat has been in fuego, and Susac has filled in very well. And in fact, on the Saturday broadcast on Fox, they were asking Posey about, hey, has this, more playing time at first base given you fresh legs? And is that responsible for your hot streak right now? And Posey, who usually plays it pretty close to the vest, he'll say things like, what the hell are you talking about? Basically that kind of attitude.
Right.
He's basically said, well, yeah, it might have something to do with it. He basically gave some credence to that. And he doubled down on that by saying, and by the way, Susac has been doing a hell of a job behind home plate. He's handling the pitching stuff really well.
Which is true.
And he's hitting very well, and he's hitting .350 over his last 10 starts behind the dish.
Yeah, I mean, Hector Sanchez could be out of a job next year.
Yeah, so I was
Susac has been really something as both as a starting and as a pinch hitting catcher. I mean, he's done a really nice job defensively, which is something that was originally supposed to be a concern with him. Which we didn't really see, but it's you hear it when he's coming up through the system without really knowing what kind of context to give it. And I think now we're seeing that not only is he at least above average defensively, if not higher, offensively he's doing fine. And it's one of those things.
No
Susak
problem
is,
at all.
yeah, and I mean, when you've got Susak in the catcher and Posey at first, unless we get Brandon Belt back, which he is cleared for baseball activities again, so we are looking at that at some point soon, and then we'll get a bit of a logjam again that we can worry about. Then we can start having the awesome, hey, what about, say, Posey at first, Belton left, Susak at catcher. Maybe we'll bring back, I don't know, Sean Estes and put him in the bullpen. And
Yeah. And
wild speculation time is coming, but at the moment,
wild speculation, no
speculation
kidding.
time, my favorite. At the moment, the Giants are frequently better with Posey at first and Susak at catcher than they are with Posey at catcher and frequent rotating cast at first, possibly with the exception of Michael Morris.
Yeah, there's, with Brandon Belt, I know he's cleared to perform baseball activities now, so he's basically going to throw and catch and hit and all that. I haven't read. Is there any kind of timetable on if he's going to be back next week or even at all in the regular season?
On Belt?
Yeah.
I have not actually. I haven't seen either way yet. I've just been seeing the quick notes where it's just like, hey, so this person has, or this, just like the notifications where it's like, hey, so Brandon Belt's been cleared for baseball activity.
Yeah.
That's been it for me so far.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've seen. It like you said, there's going to be a logjam if he comes back here in the last couple of weeks of the season, and it's going to be interesting what Bochy does here. But he has an expanded roster, so he has a lot of chess pieces to play with. But what's even more interesting is if the Giants do make the postseason, and I mean, more than the one-game playoff, because that's whatever. What are they going to do? I mean, clearly he would be on the playoff roster. There's no doubt in my mind. But it does get trimmed back down to 25, and at that point, you got Michael Morris, assumedly will be okay. You got because Hector Sanchez is done for the year. I would think that Susak is your backup catcher on the roster for the playoffs because he qualifies. He was called up before the playoff roster deadline was had passed. And then what is he going to do in that situation? Because he's got to play Belt at first base, probably Morrison left. I mean, I don't think he's going to take Morse out, put Belton left and Posey at first so Susak can catch. I just don't anticipate that happening. So I think the playoffs are going to be a lot different than they are right now if they make it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, when you look at the playoffs and the way that the roster has started to shape up with injuries and so forth, I mean, guys who are on the DL are eligible, guys who are on the roster are eligible, guys who are on the 40, unless they're replacing somebody who are on the DL, are not eligible. So, I mean, I think Andrew Susak should be, because he came up when Sanchez got hurt, as I recall.
Yeah.
Panik should be. He came up obviously before. Cordier is not, and he's throwing ridiculously hard out of the bullpen right now.
101.
Yep. Hunter Strickland is not.
Nope.
Throwing
those guys are
out of the bullpen right now.
They're the September call-ups.
Well, you know what, though? I think that depending on how he does during this month, Hunter Strickland is first in line if somebody goes down in the bullpen.
That's true. Say that. No, there is that mechanism to put guys on the playoff roster.
Sure. You're hurt. Also playing badly. Also definitely hurt. Because damn near everybody is hurt after 162 games.
Have a third-degree toenail jam. So yeah, okay, you're done.
The doctor says that you're giving all of our fans cardiac arrhythmia. So you're on the deal.
So Posey's been great at first. I think the long-term prospects that a lot of Giants fans have been mentioning about putting him at first,
leaving him at first
base,
permanently,
is a little suspect because of the Belt situation. He is a first baseman. I really don't think that Belt is destined for the outfield, and I don't think that's the proper use for him.
I think moving Posey to third is essentially saying that we're not
signing up Panda
again, and I think that's not a guarantee yet because he's having a rough time right now, but he has had a better year overall. It becomes sort of a decision whether the Giants decide that they have enough leverage to try and get him back for less, or whether they don't have enough leverage and he's going to be way more expensive than they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
Or if they're just like, the hell with it, we have a better option, but I don't know that they do yet. Posey is athletic, but is he athletic enough to do the things that Pablo does at third? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say no. I think Pan.
He was I would say he was when we drafted him.
Yes.
But we've spent so much time working him as a catcher and first baseman.
Yeah.
That's more or less where I see him profiling out at this point.
Yeah, I think that's where he's just destined to be the rest of his career.
Ultimate emergency right fielder,
Brandon Belt is an excellent first baseman as well as far as his defense is concerned. And if the poor guy would just not be running into this shitty luck he's been having. You know, he
Yeah.
really was on, and no one knows.
Really getting pegged by an errant Marco Scudero throw.
Well,
like
of course it
Scudero's
had to be
punishment was get
Scudero.
sent home for the rest of the year.
I mean,
So
it had
obviously
to be Scudero.
justice has been served.
You
But
know? The second base curse just was transferred to first base. I mean, I don't know what
right.
happened.
Well,
there.
that was Scudero officially handing the torch off of,
Yeah.
haha, your turn.
Tag, you're it. I know it was
Tag
really
in the head,
unfortunate.
you're it.
You get the broken pinky or whatever from earlier in the year from the Dodger pitcher. He ends up being out 8 weeks. They said 6 to 8, and he was out 8. And then
Yep.
you get the Marco thing, which I guess he had a major concussion or a concussion in high
It
school.
was a concussion. Oh, really?
Yeah, and so
I
now the theory is, and everyone's different. No one really knows the real answer, but the
No, but I
experts
mean,
are very surprised that he's having these recurring concussion symptoms so
mean,
far along after the original injury.
Sometimes your concussion isn't much, and sometimes it's Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're out for almost the entire season because of a concussion. Because the stuff that can cause, especially because where you're being hit can dictate which parts, maybe you're knocking different parts of the brain around than somebody else who gets hit directly straight on in the front of their head, or...
Well, it's like Mike Matheny, It wasn't that last concussion that it was so bad. It was that he's had so many. And they're cumulative, basically. And so now they're looking back at his records and they went, oh, you had a concussion in high school. Well, there's a possibility that, because this is your second concussion, that it's... And second, that's a known. Of course, that's the other thing. A lot of players, especially younger and before this age of everybody worrying about concussions, there are many, many players who suffered multiple concussions and just never had them diagnosed. And so that's another issue as well. So he's had at least one concussion. Who knows how many he's had. But this might be the explanation for why he's having these post-concussive symptoms weeks after the initial event and after he's played and felt fine for days at a time. And then suddenly, boom, he'll be dizzy, he'll get nauseous and throw up, he'll have pain and all these weird things, which is scary because we talked about that last week as well. You and I talked about that, I think, a couple of weeks ago. We're just concerned for him as a person because it is something where even if he comes back, he could be on that precipice of, if he gets one more concussion, he could be a Mike Matheny or Sidney Crosby or someone like that who, even at a tragically young age would need to consider retirement at that point. And I know the Giants are not looking for that right now, but I
don't think they're looking for that ever.
No, ever. But I think if he was on track, I mean, no one knows what he would have done. He certainly would have had his slumps, and he certainly would have had his hot spots. But I think there's little doubt in most Giants fans' minds that he finally hit a point of comfort and confidence. And he's been on this team for several years, and he started off April and May so hot that he was on that trajectory to finish at 25 home runs, 280, 100 RBI.
I think a lot of us had a feeling that Belt was, all-star game bound and was going to end up being like the MVP of the postseason series, and instead he's been the star darling of the disabled list, which is really kind of depressing.
Yeah, so next year, he comes back, plays first base. That's why I don't think Posey has anywhere else to go at this point except for his regular off days. I think he's just going to be behind the dish at least next year. Third base is not an option for him. I think the Giants need to re-sign Pablo. They committed, they bid $60 or $61 million on that Cuban defector, and they lost out
Carbonell?
They lost out to Boston at $67 million.
Yeah.
But they did show at least a little bit of okay, we're going to overpay for an unproven product. There's a lot of Cubans now have been proving themselves, and that's what they're kind of betting on. It's like futures. But at the same time, we've talked about this before. Who else do they have at third base? I mean, they're not going to put Posey there.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you're waiting on
the system. So
at this point, given that we don't know that he's anywhere near Pablo's level right now, you're pretty much waiting on Mac Williamson to come back from TJ.
Yeah,
that's almost your entirety of your that. It feels like that's almost the entirety of the third base depth in the organization because nobody else is really talking about third baseman in the org right now. There's just not any buzz.
Pretty much. All right, so getting here.
Dear minor league third baseman, someone surprised me. I will happily accept being totally wrong
someone
about
sign
this.
with the Giants and start hitting home runs, and then could be called up, and then we'll be fine. All right. So
Step A, get signed. Step B, home runs. Step 3, question mark. Step 4, profit.
All right, so we're going to skip to our new favorite guy, and go ahead, Ben.
Okay. I mean, our new favorite guy is hardly a surprise because he was pitcher of the month for me. I got to go with Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner was just ridiculous. He's not like ERA of 1.67 ridiculous. Thank you, Kershaw, you glorious bastard.
Ugh.
But Bumgarner has been far and away the best starting pitcher in the rotation, if not the best pitcher on the entire staff. I mean, he is just absolutely, he's been ridiculous. He's been a joy to watch. He is all intensity and piss and vinegar every time he comes to the mound, and just favorite guy. Bumgarner is he's not a guy that I'll actually pick often, I think, with the exception of Matt Grand Slam Gardner. That was fun, but I it's hard to go with anybody else because of how good he has been, even with the offense resurging like this.
Hey, look, we're going with the voters here because I'm going with Buster Posey. How can we not go for these guys? They're so hot right now. They're the ones carrying the team. So clearly they're new favorite guys right now. Buster Posey needs to continue his incredible streak here over the last 19 games. But these are the guys that we wanted to see all year long. I mean, if Posey was cruising at that 330 clip and at 25 home runs and 100 RBI right now, I think they'd be sitting right there with the Dodgers. So, but hey, it's never too late at this point in the season. All right, so we should hate this guy. I'm going to go with Matt Kemp because he's Matt Kemp and he plays for the Dodgers. But I have a little soft spot for his heart, or in my heart for him, because we've seen him do those things for the underprivileged kids with giving them his shirt off his back and his cleats and
literally
that kind of thing. Cheering for Giants in the All-Star game. But this week, and I know this has been known before, but he is a major 49ers fan. And he told the media, and you can print that. So kudos to him for standing up for the football team he likes, which it really has nothing to do with the baseball team you play for. That's kind of silly.
No,
but
I'll grudgingly allow it.
I'm sure there's some Dodger fans that are kind of like, well,
right.
I don't like that. Just
right.
Just like I'm sure we have a lot of Giants players that are rooting for teams that we don't care for in other sports.
All the time.
Yeah.
Come on. We already talked to George Kontos about this. His is coming to town next week.
Yes.
So
Bears. Yeah, he's always tweeting about Chicago though. Chicago.
That's fun. That's that just means that we're going to be mortal enemies of Eric and of George Kontos for one day. And by one day I mean like maybe 3 hours. But that's okay.
We should stage one of those little like boxing kind of graphics and have one of us like do some snarling face, and then Eric do the same thing. We'll Photoshop it together.
Oh man,
that'd be
Eric,
epic.
if you're listening,
although we could send that to the City Graphics or whatever guy.
Just see if we can actually try and commission one out of Jay.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be sweet.
That's an idea.
I like this.
Right. Oh man. Oh, Chicago. You guys.
That's a nice town though. I do like Chicago. Only been there once, but it's definitely a fun town.
Same on both counts. Only been there once. It is a fun town. I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively hate Gerardo Parra. I was really tempted to hate Miguel Cabrera, but I can't.
Yeah.
It's like trying to hate David Ortiz.
Yeah, he's like a big
you do, but they're also really likable. But you do, but they're really like it. So I'm going to preemptively hate Gerardo Parra just because he has this random habit of deciding to turn into early year Charlie Blackmon whenever he faces the Giants. So I'm just going to preemptively assume that Gerardo Parra is going to be a terror, and that we're either somehow going to work around it and still win, or that Gerardo Parra will be the reason the world ends. So that's who I'm going with for this week, and hopefully I will have been completely unfounded in my assumptions by the time we get there.
All right, so while we'll win it all, I'm going to go with we got to sweep LA. Or win 5 out of 6. I mean, I think that's really what needs to happen. But if we have the one-game playoff, then it's going to be a crazy, epic wild card game, and it's going to go down in history as one of the best games the Giants have ever played in terms of an epic comeback, bottom of the ninth type of thing.
So like Hunter Pence is going to hit a ball 3 times with one swing.
Yeah, something epic like that's never happened before. It might rain, or something like that.
Maybe it'll rain or something. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe Pando hit a few home runs.
You might have Zito re-signed and pitch the game of his life. I don't know.
Something completely unexpected.
And
Absolutely.
If all fails, I think that I was hoping Willie would be here tonight, but maybe Willie will have one of his lucky sloppy joes at his local establishment during said games, and
maybe we'll actually get a photo and be able to put it on the Twitter account this year. Like, hey, we told you, really, it happened, guys.
So maybe that.
That's I could go with that. I'm actually gonna say why we will win it all. It's not going to be because of the guys you think. It's going to be because of Joe Panic and Andrew Susak. It's going to be because in a situation where the guys are firing well on most cylinders, we're going to have a clutch moment. We're going to need something really important, and Panic is going to get a contact hit, double into the gap at AT&T. Something like that is going to happen at just the right time, and the way that we look back and we remember like Travis Ishikawa walks and things like, we're going to look back and we're going to remember a Joe Panic double.
Yeah, something random like that. The Cody Ross, the Juan Uribe, did I say his name? And
Edgar
Renteria.
It was in the correct context. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah. No. Oh, speaking of Edgar Renteria.
Renteria hits a high drive, deep left center field. David Murphy going back. He's on the warning track. It is gone!
I got the warm voice cracky fuzzies. Mine did that a minute ago. I can't really talk, but
oh god, I love that call.
That's never gonna get old.
It never gets old. I know. I got a whole soundboard full of these, and I just love playing with them when I'm alone in my office. Just like, oh, I like that one and that one. Give me the fuzzy feelings, like you said. All right, so we have some cool stuff coming up actually this week. In fact, this Wednesday the Giants will be playing Arizona in Game 2 of their 3-game series, and all three of us, Willie, Ben, and myself, are going to be going to the game, but in slightly different capacities. So, Ben, you actually have a special event ticket purchased for Gamers Night, correct?
So I am currently planning to be at the pregame party for Gamers Night. Obviously, that's the gaming community is something that all three of us are interested in, even though Willie easily wins for being the most involved, and I'm terrible at Hearthstone. And will always be terrible at Hearthstone.
I am just the worst at that game, man.
If anybody wants to hang out and talk Mass Effect, that's not always something you'll run into with the rest of us. I will totally be at Seal Plaza. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So Willie and I are going to be attending officially as press, and so we're going to try and maybe crash that event.
Yep, I'll be around, man on the streeting, and by that I mean video gamer on the streeting, I guess, since apparently it's video gamer night, not just gamer night, not just video game night, video gamer night.
Yeah, we won't try and snag or Bogart one of those figurines. That's fine, but I do.
I will, but that's because I paid for it. So.
But yeah, and you deserve that.
It looks so good. It's a McFarlane figurine. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh man, it looks sweet, doesn't it?
I'm super excited. It looks so sweet. I mean, and I will confess that I haven't played the Assassin's Creed games, although I do own several, and they're actually coming up on my list of games I want to try out.
Right.
So I still need to play the first one and run around Rome doing assassin-y things.
Right.
It's
I'm gonna go play in order 2, 3, 4.
If you haven't seen it yet, man, the costume is of Arno from the upcoming Assassin's Creed Unity game, I believe, and it's a McFarlane figurine, and as you know, Todd McFarlane figurines tend to be pretty decent quality. But it's also got the black and orange Assassin's jacket because it's in Giants colors. This is awesome.
Pretty sweet. No, it really is. It definitely is a crossing of our interests in our worlds.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
it's sort of
really
like
cool.
instant Torture Cast success day.
Yeah.
So we're really hoping that translates into on the field, but feeling that we're going to have some awesome stories. One of us will have a great figurine, and we will all three be at the bonus ode in the evening. So I mean, we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully, if you are either in the area early, or if you're going to Video Gamer Night, hit us up on Twitter, and let's definitely get together, chat a little about the Giants, about games, about Hunter Pence playing things on Twitch. Whatever you want to chat about, let's get together and talk.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions out there for the players, because we have we're really excited. This is going to be first-time access. We've had access to the players before, but only in the capacity.
Right.
Yeah, only in the capacity of Media Day in February. We've done that a couple of times, and that's a very organized kind of thing. But we've gotten a lot of time. Ben, you were there with me last time, and it was pretty sweet to be able to sit down with these guys for 5 or 6 minutes at a pop. But we've never had clubhouse access. We have dugout and press box access, but not actually in the clubhouse before and after games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do for the next 2 games, and so Willie and I are going to be there Wednesday extra early because the clubhouse is open for about an hour. So about 4 or 5 hours before the game, so it is an early day. But we do plan on going in there with, I'm going to need some anti-anxiety medication, I'd say, but because it is tied with Gamers Night, we really want to seek out Hunter Pence and just grill him, in a friendly way. But
Yeah.
when
Although, depending on how he's doing, a lot of people will want to speak to Penn, so it may take a little bit of time to really just snag the right spot. But man,
well, what I've been told is
now
that
that you guys have gotten to chat with him about Hearthstone at least once, I figure.
well, that's the thing.
Here-
When we were on
yeah.
the field there with Veronica and Willie just blurted out about I suck at the game. I can't remember what he said, but it was something about a druid card.
I
and
entirely missed it. But
whatever.
it's,
And Hunter, oh my God, he was like a little puppy dog.
face lit up. Hey, let me.
Oh,
come
he
back, talk
turned
to you guys.
around and he's just like, oh my God, you know about this. And so yeah, he threw a few.
Someone in my baseball life knows about my gaming life,
Yeah.
besides the people on the other side of a
Twitch.
feed.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a
Who are,
very
in fairness, all pretty interesting, but
very rare, I'd
Yeah.
say breed that
Yeah.
Willie and me and Veronica sitting there were. But it was so crazy to see him not only spew all this verbiage
Yeah.
about the game, but then go into the cage and then come right out, and I mean make a beeline for us and go, oh, and another thing. So I tried this other card, but this legendary doesn't work well with that
Well,
one.
but let's face it, what's really funny about that situation to me is that you've got, on this one side, you've got Hunter Pence, who is absolutely freaking phenomenal at baseball and is pretty good at a game like Hearthstone. And you turn around on the other side, you realize you've got Veronica and Willie. We're actually pretty freaking good at Hearthstone, Willie especially.
Yeah.
And in Willie's case, at least not bad at baseball. And you're like, this is actually there's a lot more parity in this conversation than I think any of us thought there were before you opened your mouths. This is weird for me.
It was pretty intense. And so we're going to go in and hopefully have a couple minutes with Hunter to really
Mhm.
I mean, we're going to ask him some baseball questions. Don't get me wrong, everyone out there, but we're definitely going to hit the gamer angle because, at this point of the season, I'm sure that all of the players are just, oh yeah, okay, yeah, hitting streak, okay, yeah, I'm comfortable. Oh yeah, we play well here. It's just, it's the same stuff over and over and over again.
Sure.
So I think someone coming in the clubhouse to talk Hearthstone or something else like that is probably going to be pretty sweet for him.
What can we say, folks? We're not necessarily a real media outlet, even though we carry news and talk about things. So
Oh, no, we're still
usually the
gonna
ones
get
with the weird questions to shake things up, and we're proud of it.
That's what we do. No, we're going to just see who's there, and it may even be that Hunter Pence isn't in the clubhouse at the time, but we're going to hang out
Sure.
and try not to be the weird, awkward guys in there going, what do we do next?
You're totally going to be the weird awkward
We're
guys.
totally
but
going
it's
to be
okay.
the weird, awkward guys. We're just going to...
But it's okay, because that's hopefully why people keep listening to us, since goodness knows we're the weird awkward guys all the time. Right, guys?
You're listening to us learning, okay? You don't know what we're
Oh,
doing,
man.
pretty much.
Oh,
but
man.
So that's
Maybe
what
we
we're
should
doing.
Stop while we're ahead.
Yeah, we're going to have access to the clubhouse before the game. Hopefully go to Gamers Night, the event with Ben, be in the press box for the game, tweeting out like mad there. And then we'll have clubhouse access after the game, so we can go back in there and ask questions, game-related, of course, of the players. Maybe hit the Bochy press conference, and then we're going to do our normal bonus episode. And then the next Saturday, this coming Saturday, against Los Angeles, we, all three of us, are going to attend the game in the press
Correct.
box and, again, have clubhouse access pre- and post-game. So you will be able to join our anxiety-ridden ride, filled ride. As we,
I promise
as we
not to
cover
mention
this.
it on the podcast if I throw up.
But that'll be
Sorry,
pretty
guys.
amazing because that will be, obviously, against the Dodgers. This will be an important series. There's probably going to be a lot
This
more...
will be huge.
There's going to
Yeah.
be more media there. It's going to be a little
Mhm.
more crowded. It's going to be a little more intense, I think. I think the clubhouse is going to be a little bit more focused, and so we'll have some tough questions for them, or none at all, and ask them about their favorite food or what the clubhouse spread was today.
Right.
But-
Basically, it's going to be really interesting. It's definitely the beginning of a big ride for us, and it's going to be a big ride for Willie and Chad, but it's definitely something that for every Giants fan is going to be a huge deal. And obviously, we're always interested in helping you guys get a little closer to the players and having you guys kind of ride along with us while we do some kind of silly, fun, awesome stuff. And if you have questions for the players, send them to us. We can't guarantee we're going to get to ask them because we don't know who we're going to have access to. But if you want to ask a question to some of the players, if you got something on your mind, send it to us, and we'll see what we can do to try and get it fit in. This is a great chance for us to kind of get a little closer to the game, and we'd really like to be able to share that with everybody who listens.
That's right. So, you know what? I didn't mention at the top of the episode, this is episode number 70, the George Kontos episode. So,
How appropriate.
yeah.
George
So
Kontos, Chicago man.
I'll have to talk to him about that. Our last podcast was named after you, and Chicago's coming. No, that's not going to be.
Shit.
That's
Let me say something really sensible.
the Bears. All right,
And
so
I quit. We're done. Bye.
So you can go ahead and send in any mail to mail@torturecast.com. That is correct, isn't it, Ben? mail@torturecast.com.
Mail@torturecast.com.
Okay, good.
That is us.
You can follow us collectively at TortureCast on Twitter. You can also follow us individually. I'm at ChadK21. Ben is at Fried Duck, and the absent Willies. He's only one person, by the way. He is not multiple people, although
It's
maybe
hard to
his
tell sometimes. He
psychologist
gets around a
actually
lot.
disagrees with that point. But you can follow him at Willie Dills. We're going to be going crazy on Wednesday. In less than 48 hours, we're going to be in the press box, in the clubhouse, going like mad. So please stay tuned to our Twitter and social media feeds, and even YouTube and other places. It's going to be totally insane. Send us any crazy questions, any mail, do whatever. You can find our blog at torchcast.com, where you're going to find all of our blog entries and all of our episodes posted there. We are streaming this live on YouTube as we speak for the 3 people watching right now, but hey, it's better than none. So go ahead and all that info on when we stream and how we stream and where to find it is on torturecast.com. So for the absent Willie and for Ben,
Yep.
This is Chad signing off on episode number 70. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, right. See you later, everyone. Thanks for watching tonight. Appreciate it. And next time, call. We want some callers. 415-799-SFG1. We'll see you next Monday night. Thanks.
Have a good night.